He's the frontrunner for Rookie of the Year in the NBA. Ben Simmons is delivering on high expectations, and SI is declaring the process is over. Lee Jenkins profiled Ben Simmons. He joins me now. Lee, you said as recently as 3 months ago, Simmons was viewed as part phenom, part phantom. What has he shown the league so far this year?
Well, Maggie, he's kind of done everything you'd want out of a rookie besides hit jump shots. I mean, he's an incredible rebounder. He's obviously an amazing playmaker. He's scoring even without an outside shot. There are a lot of guys in the league right now who are oversized ball handlers, secondary ball handlers, and the closest we've seen to this is probably Giannis, is what he did in Milwaukee. But, I mean, Ben Simmons is even guarding opposing point guards. So, I mean, he has now become the Philadelphia 76ers point guard, and to do that at 6'10", again, it's just something we haven't seen a lot since Magic Johnson. Maybe you could argue LeBron James, although he kind of plays every position.
Yeah, let's talk about LeBron James. Describe the relationship between Simmons and LeBron.
You know, Maggie, I don't want to overstate it because I don't think they're necessarily best friends or hanging out all the time or going out. But I definitely think that Ben Simmons grew up in that era when LeBron was taking over the NBA. 6'8", handle the ball. It was never necessarily for LeBron about scoring 50 points the way it maybe was for Jordan and Kobe, you know, when, you know, scoring was more of the ethos. He always sort of fashioned himself, I think, a passer and playmaker first. Simmons, in many ways, has filled that lane that LeBron opened. On a personal level, yeah, they have a relationship. I mean, it started when Ben was 17 years old at LeBron's camp in Las Vegas, and LeBron invited him to work out at the Wynn Hotel with him and Dwayne Wade. That was sort of the beginning of it. As we know, Ben Simmons signed with LeBron's agent and friend, Rich Paul, signed with Nike. He's in some ways sort of following in some of his off-court footsteps. But more than that, Maggie, I think it's when you watch him on the floor, it's kind of the way he always looks for somebody else, the way he sees the court, the way he takes some kind of risky cross-court passes, using his height to his advantage as a playmaker. Those are the things that sort of recall LeBron James. To him, it's sort of natural because this is who he grew up studying and watching. He wasn't the only player. He also watched a lot of Carmelo Anthony, a lot of Dwayne Wade, again, you know, such a product of his time. But, you know, more than anything, it was his size and the way that he sort of gravitated toward being a playmaker. He never just wanted to score, and obviously shooting for him is something that was always secondary. I think it was kind of a happy coincidence that as Ben's growing up, along comes, you know, the best player in the league who sort of exhibits many of those same traits and was somebody who I think Simmons kind of grew up modeling himself after.
Teams exploiting the shooting woes from the free throw line. How concerned is Simmons about the free throws? I mean, does he care that he's shooting at a low percentage? Is it fixable?
You know, the thing what he said to me was, he said, people are always asking me about three-pointers. Like, why aren't you making three-pointers? Why aren't you shooting more from distance? And he said, well, you know, there are things that I can do that J.J. Redick can't do, and there are things J.J. Redick can do that I can't do. So for now, I think that the Sixers and he have to be thrilled with just what has happened, you know, what he does deliver, the fact that he is able to get to the rim even without that shot. I mean, that was something I talked to with some of the Sixers is, does he even really need it going forward? And this guy should be a really good defender. He's got the length to do it. He's already bothering, of course, so many smaller players. So, you know, the one area that he's going to have to work on is a jump shot. There is a potential change he could make. It's a massive change, but it would be starting to shoot right-handed. That's something that we saw Tristan Thompson do, go from left-handed to right-handed. And when you watch Simmons for an extended period, I was around him for a little bit, and you watch him before games, he shoots a lot with his right hand. There's no question that mechanically he is a little bit cleaner from the right side. Things like elbow placement and the spin on the ball is a little bit better from the right side. But obviously he's had a ton of success in his life shooting left-handed, regardless of the hack of Simmons, whatever's going on now, or however he's shooting or not shooting from the three-point line. He still made it a long way with that lefty shot.
Okay, we'll keep an eye on that. You rightly, instead of trust the process, it's trust the talent. Is this 76ers roster the finished product?
Well, no, and I think the main issue is going to be Markelle Fultz. You know, when we see him, we'll sort of see, you know, how does that fit? How does he fit next to Ben Simmons? He's somebody who grew up playing point guard also. You know, is that going to work together, those three guys? But clearly they have they've made some good moves. I mean, some of those players who Sam Hinkie brought in to essentially buy time have become valuable NBA players. T.J. McConnell, Robert Covington, the most obvious example. And, moving forward, they're going to be a desirable free agent destination.
You mentioned the 76ers as an appealing destination. Lee, I'm going to ask you a question that you are absolutely going to hate. Is it appealing? Is it an appealing destination? Is it appealing enough for LeBron James to even consider going to Philadelphia?
It comes with a lot of risk, Maggie, because of Embiid, because whenever you have young players around together at the same time, those guys want to assert themselves. They always want to be stars. It's always easier, I find, to put a super team together when guys have been through these battles and they've established what they want from an individual perspective, and it becomes purely about the winning. With younger players, there's always a little bit more going on. In general, this is the way it goes in the NBA, and this is why a situation like Oklahoma City was always going to be difficult to keep together. So whenever you see these kind of charming young teams, there's a lot of fragility there. So LeBron would have to be going into a situation like that. Obviously, there'd be a ton of talent there, and he'd also have to feel as though Joel Embiid was going to be healthy, because that's still going to be a question for this team, moving forward. So there's still risk when you join a young team and a team that's had some of the injury issues that they have. I have no knowledge or anything about what LeBron's going to do, but clearly the Eastern Conference, I think we've seen it, and the East is better than I think many people thought. But clearly it's the path of least resistance if LeBron's goal is truly to pick off as many of these titles as he can before he's done.
Lee Jenkins, another fantastic profile, this time Ben Simmons, and also declaring the process is over. Lee, thanks a lot.
No, thanks, Maggie. Appreciate it.
You've caught passes from Drew Brees and Tom Brady, two of the greatest quarterbacks in modern football, maybe ever. We're going to ask what's similar and different between the two, but it's going to be in the form of a quiz. I'm going to ask questions, and you're going to tell me whether it was Tom Brady or Drew Brees. Are you ready for that?
I think so. Let's go.
Okay, who led the league in passing yards 7 times?
Drew.
You're right, that is Drew Brees. Who has 482 passing touchdowns?
Going with Tom on that one.
Yep, you're right. That is Tom Brady. He has 1 more touchdown than Brees, so that could change the season. Who has more career rushing yards?
Well, Drew.
I'm sorry, it's
No,
Tom Brady.
Tom, because he's close to 1,000 yards, if I'm not mistaken, right?
I'm going to have to take the first answer.
Oh.
So you're 2-1 now. Let's go. More rushing touchdowns, Brady or Brees?
Brees.
You're right. Brees has 18. Brady has 17. Of course, here at Sports Illustrated, we have a very prestigious award. It's called Sports Person of the Year. Who won it in 2010?
Oh, Drew, because they won the Super Bowl.
Yep, that's Drew Brees. Okay. Who is older?
TB.
You're right. You're doing well here. Who was drafted by the Expos, the Montreal Expos, in the 18th round of the Major League Baseball draft?
Drew. No, I got that one wrong.
I'll say this bonus question if you knew what position he played.
I'm just going to say pitcher.
No, he was a catcher, actually, which is really funny. I know. Who's the fastest to 40,000 career passing yards?
Drew. Tom.
Nope, you had it right the first time. It was Drew Brees. And when they first met in college, who won that first matchup? Michigan against Purdue. Who won?
Michigan.
You're right. Michigan won. I'll say this, Brandon Cooks, you did a great job. 6 questions right, only 3 questions wrong. I would say you know your quarterbacks very, very well. Let's talk now about Old Spice. Invisible spray. Who's your best smelling teammate?
Ooh, best smelling teammate. I'm going to have to go with Danny Amendola.
And better smelling than Tom Brady?
I spend more time with Danny, so I'm able to smell him a little bit more than Tom.
Tell us why you wanted to team up with Old Spice.
Yeah, I'm excited because I always use Old Spice just growing up and throughout football, but especially now I'm excited because they came out with that invisible spray, which is easy to get on quick And, it doesn't leave you with those white marks on your skin and your clothes. So I'm definitely excited about that part of it.
For more, you can go to oldspice.com. Brandin Cook's good enough to join us. We wish you the best of luck throughout the season, and congratulations on what has been a career year so far. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Let's get to his executive decisions. Corey, who are you starting this week?
Jameis Winston gets back on the field this week, so I want to put Winston back out there. He's got a matchup versus the Green Bay Packers, 30th in the league fantasy points against the quarterback position. I think Winston gets in there and gets it rolling. He hasn't been great so far this season, but I like Winston to pick it back up this week now that he's fully healthy. And Cameron Brate, while Jameis Winston was playing, Cameron Brate was tight end 4 in PPR on the entire season. He kind of, Ryan Fitzpatrick and him don't get along. It's kind of been one catch a week. I think this week you can safely put Cameron Brate right back in your lineup. We can make America great again now that Winston is back.
So you're handcuffing those guys as a start, basically?
They are a combined sit-start, Jameis Winston and Cameron Brate.
All right, who else you got starting this week?
JMK, Jerick. That's my initials for Jerick McKinnon. Jerick McKinnon in the past couple of weeks hasn't really been getting it done. It's been more or less Lat Murray. But one of the things about Jerick McKinnon is they're going up against Atlanta this week. Atlanta is horrible against pass-catching running backs. They give up a lot of receptions. That's kind of Jerick McKinnon's game. I'm putting Jerick McKinnon back in week number 13. He still plays in 50% of the snaps. He'll touch the ball at least 12 times a game. So Jerick McKinnon a good play this week because Atlanta gets torn up by pass-catching running backs. Ted Ginn Jr. The Panthers are 26 in fantasy points against versus the wide receiver position. Ginn has 17 targets in his last 2 weeks. Brees trusts him. He looks for him. So I think you could clearly get Ted Ginn Jr. in your starting lineup. Look what Robbie Anderson did against the Panthers last week. So Ginn Jr., I would play him over both those Raider wide receivers that people are picking up this week, Cordero Patterson and the architect, Seth Roberts. I would play him over both of those guys this week.
So make sure you have Ginn in your lineup. Now to the sits for this week.
I know you have to sit T.Y. Hilton this week, and I love T.Y. Hilton. He's one of the best wide receivers in the NFL, but this thing with Andrew Luck really ruined his season. So T.Y. Hilton this week, listen, Brissett was on his back all last week, and you know who they got this week, right? Saxonville. Not to mention the fact you got T.Y. Hilton going up against the Jackson 5. So I think it's going to be very tough for him to get any work this week. The last time they played against Jacksonville in that Jackson 5 that I speak of, he had 2 catches for 27 yards.
Whoa.
That's not going to cut it.
Who else are we sitting this week?
Joe Mixon. We got to sit Joe Mixon this week, going up against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers are one of the top teams in the NFL against the run, gave up less than 100 yards a week, only allowed 6 touchdowns on the season. This is a big rivalry game right here. You know, these two teams don't really like each other that much. Already been some trash talk. I'm sitting Joe Mixon. Now, Mixon has picked it up from early in the season. Early in the season, Mixon was horrific. But this week, the past couple of weeks, Mixon has been playing well, but I think he's going to take a downturn this week going up against the Pittsburgh Steelers, so I'm not going to be able to start him this week. He's on my bench.
Who's the final person you want to sit down?
A guy that's been a top 10 tight end just about every week this season, one of the breakout players of the year, New York Giant rookie tight end Evan Ingram. He has to sit this week. You know why, though, right?
Eli Manning is sitting down. I mean, when Eli Manning is sitting down and crying and Geno Smith is coming in, there's a little bit of fantasy disarray.
That's everybody must sit in New York Giant uniform.
Yeah, just sit them the rest of the season so you can see what you got, like they're saying they're doing with Geno Smith and maybe Webb.
If you have Ben McAdoo in your coach league, you should probably sit him too.
I'm here with UFC star Alistair Overeem, and you were cracking your knuckles right before we started. Quite frankly, I'm a little intimidated right now.
We're good.
All right. Will it be good for Ngannou as you have a chance to take him on UFC 218 December 2nd in Detroit? Winner goes on to fight Miocic. Ngannou, he has 5 consecutive finishes right now. What is there you see in him to make sure that the 6th one doesn't take place against you?
Listen, Ngannou is 11-1 or 12-1. He has like 12 fights or something. I have more fights in the UFC than he has fights. So with all due respect, Ngannou compared to me is a boy, even though he's quite a physically impressive boy. But this Saturday I'm going to show him who's boss.
Now, setting up again the fight that you could have if you win this weekend, you did already suffer a loss to Stipe. What would be different in a possible rematch for that championship?
Well, everything will be different. There's a different Alistair here. I've been winning everything ever since. Of course, we need to solidify the next title shot, so we need to win this Saturday. I'm fully focused on that. And then we'll talk Stipe.
Now, this past weekend in Shanghai, UFC Shanghai, Michael Bisping was knocked out by Kevin Gastelum. And Bisping, many people said he shouldn't have taken this fight. Do you agree with that assessment?
There's two ways you can look at Bisping's situation. He's already told the world, told the media he's planning to retire. He wants his last fight to be in Manchester, England, his home city. And yeah, this could be just another fight quickly, some more money. You know, he's going to retire anyway. He's done. It's over with him. On the other hand, you know, medically, I would agree. He shouldn't have taken a fight. You know, your body is banged up. He was fighting GSP. GSP is a world-class athlete. Your body will be fatigued. So medically, I agree. But judging his career and judging his, you know, he's on his way out. He's gonna quit.
Now, I recently had a chance to talk to Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson, and he spoke on the possibility of cross-promotional fights if the money was right, and that's been a theme, of course, since Mayweather and McGregor. Would you ever consider going into the boxing ring as a heavyweight?
I already cross-promoted. I already went into K1. I beat everybody there. I became the K1 champion in 2010. It was a beautiful moment in my career. Do I have a desire to do it again? You know, I don't care about these boxers. You know, if they want to come and fight MMA, that's fine. But they know they're not going to do well in MMA and UFC. And yeah, me going into boxing, I don't care about boxing. Let them do their thing. Let me do my thing. I've got my eyes on the UFC belt. That's Stipe Miocic. He's got that. And what other people are doing, I frankly don't care. You
know, I talked to one of the heavyweights, maybe the best, Deontay Wilder, recently, and he said he would step into the octagon if the situation was right.
He is never going to step in the octagon. He's never going to do it. He's never going to do it.
What would happen to him if he did?
All those boxing guys that say they're going to do it, they're not going to do it. And if they would do it, you know that guy from WWE, CM Punk?
Yeah.
How an embarrassing was that? You know, I respect him because he put in the training camp and he went in there, but he lost, you know, so bad. And that's going to happen with all those boxing guys too. They're never going to come in the UFC octagon.
Now, isn't there a difference though between a pro wrestler? No disrespect to the athleticism involved there, but that
pro
is
wrestlers
choreographed.
At least have wrestling going for them. Boxers don't have wrestling.
So you're saying any boxer that, you know, that mixed martial arts essentially is a higher form of combat sports than boxing?
You know, it's a different, I don't like to belittle other people's sport. And, you know, boxing is a great sport. It's a huge sport. It's a legendary sport. There's been great fights in there. But it's just different. It's just a different sport. And, you know, if I'm going to play tennis with who else is there? Who is there? If I'm going to play tennis to Venus Williams, she's gonna kick my ass. So why would I, you know? I'll play a game with her for fun.
yeah.
But you know, this is combat sports. You're gonna get hit. People are gonna get hurt. I just, you know, it would also be unwise. If I would be their coach, and I'm gonna be a coach later after my fighting career, I would strongly recommend them not to do it because there's nothing there to gain. They're just gonna get their ass handled to them.
So bottom line is no disrespect to boxing, but no boxer would win if they went into the UFC, is what you're saying.
You know, if you're gonna put two boxers in the UFC cage against each other, that could maybe be something new, right? Because different gloves and there's some wrestling there, and they both kind of don't know what the wrestling game is all about. But yeah, I mean, we're trained, right? It's different.
You've accomplished almost everything out there. You're already considered one of the best of all time. How much longer do you see yourself fighting?
Well, that's a good question. We're gonna keep continuing till I don't want to do it anymore. And that's linked to my health, that's linked to my ability, right? Because you don't want to, you know, you want to finish a little bit on top. I still feel great. I have to say that I live very disciplined, I live very dedicated. So my diet is on point, everything is going, and I'm still enjoying it. So yeah, we'll see what happens this Saturday.